our presenter tonight is Matt Walter, and he's going to walk us through our own town. So.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you, y'all, for having me. Nan, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, sounds good.
This was interesting because when I first told somebody, they asked me to talk about Alpine and show pictures. I said, well, everybody there already knows everything. So I decided to kind of do a different approach. Yes, all these pictures are going to be in Alpine, and I tried to look at it like, what might a visitor photograph? And of course, they can come for various things. They can come for special events, they can come for regular events, they can come for the music. I hate to break your heart, but I didn't photograph a whole lot of food or anything like that. I just wanted to share some pictures. So these are not in any special order. They're not even in chronological or seasonal. They're not by season. You'll see some pictures taken during all 4 seasons, like we get here. But this is actually the poster the library made up. So this is, I really like that picture, so I'm glad we started with it, and I'm going to start with that picture. If this works, there we go. And of course, you can probably guess where this is. This is at the 9/11 memorial over there at the Border Patrol station. And most of y'all know the story, but of course, ground was being broken for the Border Patrol station on 9/11 when the towers were hit and when the Pentagon was hit. They immediately had to stop the ceremonies and go patrol the border and shut everything down. 10 years later, when they finally got the station open and rededicated, they brought in a main beam from the World Trade Center. And so every year they do a ceremony there at the main beam, which is not actually in this photograph because the sun wouldn't move like I wanted it to. But it was a really neat ceremony. Did anybody go? You did miss a beautiful sunrise for the ceremony. The bagpiper left a little bit to be desired. He was okay once he got going, but it was hard to get going. And of course, a main view of Alpine, and in a lot of these pictures, you're going to see twin sisters. This is also generally called Twin Peaks out here. The real name is Twin Sisters. And the campus, and of course this is on Hancock Hill, overlooking Alpine, and you got A Mountain, and the antenna and everything on there. So this is a nice view of a very green Alpine. It wasn't like this in April, but it is now. And of course, another Twin Sisters picture with Welcome to Alpine. So these are kind of introductions. This definitely would have worked better in color than it would have been in black and white. But this is sometimes the first thing that a lot of visitors see when they come to town. Another's overlooking Alpine. I like doing nighttime shots whenever I can. And this is on Big Hill with a car coming around the corner, illuminated the rail, and then you can see Alpine there with a few stars illuminated at night. So that's a great place to go take pictures of Alpine. There's other places you can go if you can get up onto some of the other mountains and stuff, but this is nice public access. I just gotta watch out for those drivers. Sunset Twin Sisters. So we're going through a Twin Sisters, and I love taking pictures of the sunset out here. Lots of places get amazing sunrises. I think Alpine gets some of the best sunsets in the world. And I could do a whole show just talk on just sunset pictures. I like the way that the clouds came out, and the blue and the gold. And of course, Twin Sisters. Another Twin Sisters picture, and this is actually with the 9/11 memorial in it, and looking at Twin Sisters from the side. And this actually worked better in black and white, I think, with the more ominous clouds looking over at Alpine. Another one, Alpine at night. So you're gonna get tired of these. Well, we're almost done with the Alpine at night, but there'll probably be a few more interspaced in between. But it is a beautiful city, and you could go up there when it's really dark and still see the Milky Way and the town at the same time. Not many places can do that.
What is the orange there in the middle?
Let me go back.
The city lights.
Let me figure out how to go back. What's the orange?
Yeah, in the
So
middle.
Ross. Yeah, we're way too orange. Clouds and Twin Sisters. I like, you know, this is actually from my house. So I get to see this every day, every night now, of course. But this is looking west from my house. You might see more pictures from the same spot. Oh, there you go. Same spot. Very different view. Of course, I got much closer to the fence post this time. So these are actually, like I said, these are in the same spot, almost exactly. But talk about different images. Same spot. That was this winter. And I like the way it came out with all the frost, the hoarfrost on it, and the Twin Sisters in the background. So we do get all 4 seasons here, of course. And it is amazing when you can see all the different views from pretty much, you know, the same place. There's coming into Alpine from Big Hill. Just another sunset. This one was an interesting picture when I took it. This is on the other side of the Border Patrol station. So I drove through the Border Patrol station to get a picture of the flowers when they were blooming and all the green and everything that we had. Well, I didn't tell the border. I mean, I just drove through. You don't stop when you're going south. And so then I pulled off the road and was setting up my camera. Well, they came to investigate. What is going on here? What is this guy doing? And so it is interesting when the Border Patrol comes to investigate, they don't just send one car. Yeah, they're going to check it out in force. But then when they saw what I was doing and they figured, oh, just some weirdo taking pictures, and they went back. So, yeah, you can't take that picture every year. We're not green like that every year. And of course, we weren't green like this the first 3 quarters of the year, and then the monsoons hit. Another view of Twin Sisters. That's over by the rifle range, with the looking through the fence, and of course all that ice on there, which broke a bunch of trees on campus. Early this year. And my car. Got to do the contrast, of course. But yeah, it's amazing all the pictures you can get of the same subject in all these different circumstances. And I think visitors might appreciate some of the diversity of the views out here and the climate out here and all that kind of stuff. I call this one Twin Sentinels. That's up on Big Hill also. Looking over at Twin Sisters once again. So I know y'all get tired of Twin Sisters. But yeah, I just, to me it's one of the most recognizable landmarks out here. If you get a chance to come to the museum, you'll see a pair of spurs. You'll see a pair of stirrups on permanent display. They're the old Spanish conquistador style stirrups with the hole in it so they could put their foot with the pointed boot, the metal point through it, and it had wings on it so that they would deflect the brush as they rode through the cactus and the mesquite and everything like that. And those were very commonly used by the conquistadors for a couple hundred years until the Franciscans took over. And then they outlawed them because they looked too much like crosses. So the soldiers were told to either cut the wings off or throw those stirrups away. Fortunately for us, this soldier threw his away and they were found at the base of Twin Sisters. I didn't take a picture of it, you just gotta come see it. Lightning, Twin Sisters. We get some amazing weather shows here, so they're pretty neat to photograph. A lot of these I take with this camera. I'll talk about this camera a little bit later, but this is a great little camera for just about all this kind of stuff. I do have other cameras for when I'm shooting wildlife and I need more time exposure and of course my nighttime shots. But yeah, these are another lightning shot. And guess what? No Twin Sisters.
Almost.
It's almost, but not quite. You're right.
Wow, that's a great sky.
And that's over by Spicewood. Looking back at Alpine, and of course another recognizable feature of Alpine, the antenna on a mountain. Sometimes you don't even want it in the picture, but you're gonna get it anyways. But that one came out, that's actually a sunrise. So, I think I was late for work that day. That's okay. Black and white, in black and white. So, that's one of my neighbors, and I don't think she got out that day. But, you know, this was in color. I should have done it in black and white, but I did one. But yeah, I like the way it came out with, and of course, well, Twin Sisters on the door.
Looks like a polar bear napping.
Well, you're gonna see some other ones that you can figure out what they look like too. So, okay, this is actually a little bit outside of Alpine. This is kind of my limit, right over here. You know, as you're heading past the airport. This is over towards the Mesa. I thought, well, I guess I could go further north, further east, west, south, but I decided just to stick to Alpine. So this is as far north as you went, and I really like that double rainbow. Once again, weather phenomenon that we get out here is just fascinating and colorful.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sunset in a broken window. Just kind of caught my eye. This house is still standing. It's derelict, but it's pretty close to my house, and it's the owner now only uses it for storage. But hey, it makes a good photo subject. That's probably my house reflected in it. Macro shots. For most of my macro shots, close-ups, this camera. This camera takes some amazing macros. So we'll talk about this after, a little bit about the show. So that was taken with this camera, and of course, water droplets are fascinating to photograph. With and yes, we got some water droplets this year.
Yeah.
Clouds. And that's once again north over by the airport, same place we saw those other, that sunset. And so this is it's kind of like the clouds out here. We get some amazing clouds. Clouds are interesting to photograph. Sometimes cameras don't like to focus on clouds. So what you have to do is focus on land on the distance and then aim your camera up and then press the shutter button.
What direction are you facing?
I'm actually, imagine I'm standing just north of the airport and I'm looking east, looking northeast. So that's the Mesa. It used to be called Miller Mesa. I don't know what it's called now. You're looking at one of my maps. But as you're heading towards Mitre Peak on the road. Those clouds That was actually last year during our monsoon season. Believe it or not, we got no rain out of that, but it sure was piling up at sunset. That's my house. I've since repainted it because it was a dull yellow, and now it's bright orange. So, those clouds were just powerful.
Matt, you're enhancing the color on that.
Nope, that was plain. That was the way it was. The sun was so low and it was hitting that. It was just amazing.
Wow.
And of course, you can see the antenna on a mountain. And our courthouse at night, during Christmas. This will be decorated again pretty soon. That was with this little pocket camera, once again. I love the way they do the lights there. We'll talk a little bit more, of course, about the courthouse, but that's Venus, the star.
And Twin Peaks is behind the
Yes, there, yes. Yep, didn't make the picture, but it's there. I think it's still there. Courthouse in snow, and of course the gazebo. We did get some snow this winter, and so I like that picture. And this is interesting because of this gun that's mounted in the courthouse yard. The sign is wrong. It's got a historical marker on it. And a visitor approached Ronnie Dodson, I think it was, one day, and he goes, "Hey, I was looking at your gun, I was looking at the sign, your sign is wrong." And so they called me up to go look at it. So I went up there and looked at it, measured it, and sure enough, our sign is wrong. So there's the sign. It says this 105 millimeter howitzer served in September 1943, so on, with the, this would be World War II. Became a monument to American heroes. Brewster County commissioners found it and brought it in. So some of these, of course, are very commissioners. But the story is that this was at the Rapido River in Salerno, Italy, one of the bloodiest actions in World War II, and this gun was blown off into the water, and it was salvaged. Well, there's only one problem. This is not a 105 howitzer. Our gun is a 3-inch gun, not a 4.5-inch gun. It's easy to measure it once somebody points it out to you. So I'm on the Brewster County Historical Commission, and we're having a meeting about what to do about this. The meeting's not just about this, but how are we going to fix it? I know what kind of gun it is, but was the 3-incher that they gave us also blown under the river or whatever? I don't know. And I wish I could ask Gene Hendricks, but can't quite right now. But so Gene Hendricks is the one that got it. But maybe Bill Ivy knows something. But we're going to try to investigate, and we do have to come up with either not a replacement sign, but a addendum sign to point out that yes, they set this on 105 by mistake, and we ended up with a 3-inch, and they look very similar, but of course they are different sized guns. So another photo at the courthouse. That's our if y'all have wandered over by there, we do have a pair of semi-resident great horned owls that stay at the courthouse pretty much year round. And they're pretty shy, but I managed to get a picture of one winking at me. Or was winking at Cutter, I'm not sure, but he was quite calm and very quiet. And I was surprised that he must have moved, because I looked up and then I saw him, and he stayed there and posed. So another photo right at the courthouse. I'll talk a little bit once we get to some more wildlife pictures. I use a different camera, but for this one I actually used my pocket camera. He was that close. This is at the courthouse also in the springtime. when the westerns all come through. And there were 20 of them on the grass at the courthouse. So, and it made for a very colorful couple of days before they moved on. And they were so hungry after flown up from Mexico and Costa Rica, you could get within 15 feet of them. Everybody knows what that is. This is the desk. Of course, you got to go up Hancock Hill, and you reach the desk. This was actually interesting because I took it on the first day of autumn, and I went up in the dark with a flashlight. I get up there. There's 5 other people there already, dancing. I wasn't dancing, but and then they brought out their cameras also. They were photographing, so. It is a pretty view from there. And we get lots of people that come to the museum. Where's the desk? How can I get to the desk? Can I drive to the desk? No, I can't drive to the desk. What's the easiest way to get there? I said, well, you know, you're going to have to hoof it. But, I said, if you have a horse with you, then you can ride it up there. But most people don't travel with horses anymore.
Google may direct them via the Sibley's house on the other side, they told me.
The one that was damaged, the one that was all destroyed.
No, the house where the Sibleys do live.
Oh, okay, but then you can't get up there.
Right, but Google doesn't know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would take you right to the base of the cliff. Another one from the desk with the green view now. And it turns out that's probably the 3rd desk that was up
Or
there.
more than that.
The first desk that
I'll have
is
to tell you about it.
most likely the one that's in the library right now at Sol Ross is the first desk. And then some people carried up a second desk, and then some other kids threw it off the mountain. So it's laying down here on the bottom. And then they cheated and they brought this one up by helicopter. And right next to it, bicycle tree. People, when you show them pictures of that, what the heck is that? Well, it's art. You know, you gotta tell them this is art. The whole town is about art. And,
What's the story of that tree?
The story?
Who did that?
I don't know. I think it was some students that started the putting an old busted bicycle up there on the top. It is actually the second tree. There was another tree that was there. That was the first bicycle tree, and that's been moved.
Kevin Urbanzik said he started it.
Kevin started it. Well, blame Kevin. There we go. Okay. Right. So, well, and of course I've seen Kevin up there by bicycle. He's up there quite a bit. So, all right. So I didn't know. That's good to know. Kevin started, and people have added on to it. And I call it Busted Jesus. This is our own Christ the Redeemer statue in not great shape, but overlooking Alpine. I found out after I went to photograph it that it's on private property. So I just tell them I use a zoom lens.
Jesus was walking around that day.
Yeah, that's right. And you can look up and see him from the university, if you know where to look. That's on Hancock Hill also. Claret cups are just some of my favorite flowers out here. Makes for, very colorful macro shots. I do have a special camera just for shooting the moon. I like shooting the moon. We have the super clear skies out here in Alpine. I have a camera with a zoom lens built into it. It's called the Nikon P1000. The zoom is amazing. Everybody says, oh no, don't get it, it's only for amateurs. I'm an amateur. I like it. And it takes some great moon shots. This is from my backyard.
Use a tripod for that.
Of course, yeah, you gotta use a tripod. Probably the exposure is actually about 1/8 of a second, so you don't want any kind of shake, because if you do get shake, you're gonna, the way the camera takes it, it actually is when you put it on the moon setting, it has a 3-second self-timer to stop any vibration. It's actually really, for a camera with a built-in 3,200 millimeter, 125 power lens, you can't go buy a lens like that for your Nikon or your Canon or your Olympus or any of those, but Nikon makes them and it's built in, so you can't interchange your lens. It's called the P1000, so I think that's what it costs, $1,000. But that is, relatively speaking, compared to those super giant lenses where you need a mule to carry them with, it is super cheap. So, I didn't bring it with me, but I'm a big fan of I call it my moon hummingbird camera, because it's great for little birds too. There's another moon shot, like the clouds out here. My moon playing hide and seek with the clouds. Most of my moon shots are from my house. That one came out really cool. That's the antenna on a mountain. I managed to catch it. Of course, it wasn't on the first shot or the 19th shot, but I did manage to get it with the light shining and the full moon behind it. And so, once again, a mountain and our antenna with that camera zoomed in. Oh, I gotta see a picture of Cutter, of course. And Cutter loves walking around town. We do it twice a day. And of course, this is at our newest, as far as our paintings go, our murals go. And this is at the American Legion. And so we're known as a mural town. And so I want to take some pictures of some of these murals, and that's the one at the American Legion. A lot of ours are all done by the same guy.
Yeah, Style Reed.
Yeah, Style Reed. And he doesn't live here in Alpine, but he might as well. He's here half the time painting. And he and Cutter became good friends. When he'd be laying on the ground painting, and Cutter come over, no, you can't do that, Cutter, come on. And of course, everybody knows about these murals. We make it as difficult as we can to photograph them by putting things in front of them. So you gotta wait for the right time. So that's the Star Reed. And these are some of the, on some of the alleyways between 5th and 6th. We got some great small murals. They're all over the place. There's another one on 5th Street. I like that. One of the newest ones over there by Quinco, the musicians of Texas.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody knows Willie and Waylon. So, but it's a really, really cool painting. Cool mural. I think the visitor center actually has the paperwork. It tells you who is who as far as the musicians go, and we have copies of that at the museum. But here's another mural, and this is actually one of the 2 earliest murals in all of Alpine, which a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, there's a little history behind it. This is at the museum, and when you come in to look at the Sol Ross exhibit section, I'll back up a little bit. The building that we're in as the museum right now was built as the museum, 1936, part of the Texas Centennial Project. Great Depression, no money. But Texas got special money because our vice president was John Nance Garner from Uvalde. And he got special money just for Texas for us to celebrate our 100th anniversary from Mexico, independence from Mexico. So with that money, they're going to build 9 museums around the state, including the one here on campus. And the museum is going to be in there until 1965, when it became the Student Union Building. And then when they finished the new Student Union Building, they were going to knock this building down. And And we asked if we could raise the money to save it, if we could come back home. And we raised the money because of the ceiling. When Emma McCoy was in town and saw that ceiling, long story, but I'll make it real short, he ended up writing a check for $1 million after he looked at the, because we have the largest trussless lamella arch ceiling glass in the world today. It's at the building at the museum. And so he wrote us a check for $1 million. He has since passed away, but his wife has written us a check for $5 million, and that's what's happening behind the museum. Our new building is going to be the art building, and we're going to have both history and art in separate buildings with a new entrance. Anyways, fast forward to the year 2000, we raised the money from Emma McCoy to save the building, and I was going to make this section of the building our natural history exhibit. Wanted to put in some javelinas and pronghorns and all that kind of stuff, if people don't know about those. But I came in and there was a bulletin board mounted on the wall. So I undid 4 bolts. You see the holes in the wall. Pulled the bulletin board off the wall, found this mural. Didn't know anything about it. So I had to go research it. It's funny because when I pulled it off, we had the construction workers there, and they go, "Oh, we can paint it over." I go, so I said, "No, don't touch it." And so I went over the archives, and I finally found it in the back of a yearbook. This was the final exam in 1940 by a student here named Enrique Espinosa. And he painted this map on the wall as a mural in the museum. And then the following year, and he graduated, he passed his final. The following year, Pearl Harbor gets bombed, he joins the Army. He becomes the Army's official painter-recorder in the Pacific Theater. 90 of his works are at West Point. But then he never came back to Alpine. He got a new job. He became the official diorama painter and muralist for the Museum of Natural History in New York City. If you've been there, you've seen those giant dioramas and the African scenes with Roosevelt's elephants in it and all that. Same guy. Enrique Espinosa painted those. He's passed away a couple of years ago. His nephew actually flew down to photograph these. But this is the Enrique Espinosa mural. And so then we made this the Sol Ross exhibit, talking about the university. And we got, of course, Dan Blocker's hat. But in New York artistic circles, Enrique Espinosa is actually better known than Dan Blocker. They probably didn't watch much Bonanza in New York. Our first colors at Sol Ross were bronze and blue. Bronze for the hills and blue for the sky. But in 1923, when we had one of our first homecoming, we couldn't find crepe paper of those colors. So we shifted to crimson and silver. But anyways, that mural, that's what I was talking about. It is an awesome mural. I'm glad we found it, saved it, and now it's one of the major permanent exhibits at the museum. And another mural that doesn't get seen that often. This is at the old post office, now the tax assessor's office. This is the Alpine mural. And during the Great Depression and a few years after that, the federal government paid to have art done at all post offices across the country, or a lot of post offices across the country. I believe Texas is now #1 in the post office art murals that are remaining. This was painted by Jose Moya del Pino. He was a Spanish-born American muralist, professor, teacher of art in San Francisco. He painted murals all over San Francisco, including Coit Tower. If you go into Coit Tower, you see some amazing murals that he did if you visit San Francisco. I am not able to verify it yet, but I always wondered, why was our post office mural also finished in 1940, started in 1939? Why was it done by Del Pino coming all the way out on the train from California instead of somebody like Javier Gonzalez or a more local famous painter? I think he was interested in coming out to Alpine because of his last name, Del Pino. From the pine. But I'm still trying to find that out. So if anybody's done any research on Del Pino, course, it is interesting, I wanted to photograph this, so I go in there and just the other day, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm gonna photograph the mural. Why? Talk at the library. And they go, oh, well, I guess it's okay then. And I said, really what you need, we need a little a sign telling the history. You were there when I was photographing. And I got a feeling they don't want a sign. They don't want people coming in to look at it. So, but,
And you got Twin Peaks again.
yep, absolutely, yeah.
But I think that painter probably never went up there and laid down on the ground.
No, not that. And this, in that old movie, Dancer, Texas, this scene was kind of recreated at one point. Special events, art walk. That's not my car.
But you wish.
Not really. Alpine marching band.
Twin
Yeah.
Peaks. Twin
Now, of course,
Peaks.
this was not in 2017. Remember Ice Walk? When it got down to 17 degrees, everybody's hot dogs froze. Band didn't march that year, but yeah, this is I like that. Look,
Twin
your
Peaks.
sisters. I like that bus is pretty cool. Not sure what she was doing, but she was having fun. Riding that missile. With her, I guess those are, what kind of fists are those? I don't know. Hulk, yeah.
Smash.
Picture you don't get to see very often in Alpine. All that green. For some reason, they're not flying all three flags anymore lately, I've noticed. So, need to talk to UPD about that.
The one on the left is Star Ross?
As far as the brand?
Or is that what the flag is?
Oh, yeah. Star Wars flag, yep. The brand wall. I think they're almost done with the parking lot.
Yeah. But only 8 more months.
This is a Curtis Fort sculpture that's right outside the museum, but it doesn't belong to the museum. It doesn't even belong to the campus. This is the Officer Down Memorial done to honor all law enforcement officers fallen in the line of duty west of the Vegas. And so there's names that are added every year. Really neat ceremony. The horse, of course, is a riderless horse. The officer has gotten off the horse to go check on something, hobbled the horse, and never made it back. His scabbard is empty, but he doesn't make it back. But one thing I make some of my Texas history students do is pick one of those names, then go to the odm.org website and research who that person was. So it's amazing what you discover. Sometimes there's no information, hardly any, but sometimes there are some amazing stories.
What is ODM?
Officer Down Memorial. So Officer Down, of course, when somebody falls in the line of duty.
To whom does it belong?
It belongs to the Border Patrol.
Oh, but so
They have, actually, the federal government, I guess you could say via the Border Patrol, they're the ones that conduct the ceremonies and do the flyover. But I think it just, as far as belonging to, there's some sort of federal organization, the Federal Monuments Division that it belongs to. But it is on campus right next to the museum. But a lot of people ask about it when they come to the museum, so we tell them. That's also on campus. That's a statue of a longhorn, which probably doesn't even belong on campus, but is in pretty bad shape right now. It was initially, the guy made it for trappings, our Western art show, gear show, and was hoping to sell it for $10,000. He didn't sell it. But then he decided, I'm just gonna leave it here.
It's
So,
litter.
the Soros ended up buying it for $3,500, but it hasn't been well maintained ever since. Last week, I had there's a brand new office of the Texas State University system, and they have a public art division. And so the new director of that division came to visit the campus for the first time. And she was a little shocked when she saw the shape that this Longhorn's in. Rodeo. Rodeo is a neat thing you can go take pictures of. I like this one because of the dust. So if you haven't been to the Soros Rodeo, you've got a great rodeo arena. And Soros is where collegiate rodeo was founded. Not too many towns in Texas have their own snowplows. So, you know, when our last snowfall fell, and fortunately I have a Subaru with four-wheel drive. I didn't need to have the plowed roads. I drove up to the other side of this sign and waited for the plows to show. And I like the way the picture came out with the Alpine welcomes you. And of course Alpine in the background.
Twin Peaks.
Christmas. They were putting up the Christmas decorations, and this sunrise was just awesome. I like the lighting. I was only a few minutes late to work. They've kind of just make me work late now.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Santa.
Santa. Yeah. I like the way that the snow accumulated on that fire hydrant. Looks an awful lot like Santa. Probably not too many places could you get a picture like that. Fire hydrant in the snow with, yeah, behind it, yep. This is an interesting picture. This is my attempt at a little bit of art, but this is in my front yard, and I have a red oak, and we got our first heavy freeze last year, and I have a bucket of water underneath the tree for the deer and birds. And of course that froze, and one of the leaves had fallen down, and I walked over to the bucket, I lifted that piece of frozen ice with the leaf in it, tried to hold it up to the light, take a picture. Shortly after this, I dropped it. But there's beauty in all sorts of things out here. This is at Front Street Books. I like going there. I help keep them in business. And of course, book readings. So, this was about 3 weeks ago. Yes, she was fascinating. She's an oceanographer. Just out the street walking, taking pictures. I like the blue bonnets. The sign, this is, I call it West Texas Windmill. This is over by Andy Cloud's house.
Matt,
Yep,
that's my dad's truck.
that's your dad's truck? I love that truck.
Wow.
Hard to pay one to buy it, so Monty Kimball bought it.
So, yeah, it's over at Monty's house, but
Yeah,
it doesn't move much.
no.
But yeah, Andy Cloud, it took it was pretty standard. The wind blew the sign down. About 3 months later, it got fixed. You know, everybody probably knows I'm a retired Coast Guard. I spent 20 years in the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard out of Corpus Christi does their mountain training out here. They come out twice a year. I always know when they come. I get 9 or 10 phone calls. Hey, the Coast Guard's in town. Coast Guard airplane. And I go over and I talk to them. I bring them to the museum. And we buy lunch and stuff like that. So maybe that's why they come now. I don't know. But yeah, not many places can you get mountain scenes like this with the Coast Guard. Birds. I like taking pictures. The curved-bill thrasher. Now, this is actually my front yard. There's a pair that pretty much reside there. And they are fearless, of course, and they're fun to watch.
So how close were you to the bird?
I was pretty close to this, about the same distance I am to you. So yeah, pretty close. But of course, most birds you can't get quite that close, but these guys are, you know, they're like, what are you doing? What do you want?
Oh, that's cute.
Of course, my front yard again. These city bucks are, a deer, I mean, are awesome. This was at Homer's house a couple of weeks ago. And I was out walking, and that buck was, I mean, he was 12 feet away. He wasn't gonna budge. He was keeping an eye on Cutter though, because I was walking Cutter.
Oh, wow.
You don't need that much of a zoom to shoot butterflies out here. You know, they're really cool. So once again, I don't use this camera. I have another camera with maybe a 3x lens, 4 power lens. The old Alpine Orient train station. You like that one?
By my house.
You see it in all sorts of weather conditions and everything. It is very photogenic. Baseball. Alpine Cowboys playing. So that was a. This is on the 4th of July when they have the cut, and so they have the game and then they do the fireworks, and so you have to make your choice on the 4th of July. Do you want to be at the game or do you want to see the fireworks in the best spots? And so in this case, this year, many years I'll go over past the old retirement home and I'll shoot this way towards the fireworks to get that. But this time I was at the field watching the ball game, so my photographs had to be very different. Barbed wire and rain. Bunch of bees. They were, one of my neighbors was doing some construction and pulled the siding down. And this was behind the siding. So he called me up and said, hey, what do I do? And I said, don't do anything, I gotta take a picture. Now you can do something, smoke them out. There's Cutter again, Cutter with the rainbow between his ears. Just a opportunity shot. There's nighttime skies. This is a nighttime sky. This is from Big Hill with the International Space Station going over.
Oh.
And Alpine in the distance, and Twin Sisters. So this is the kind of stuff that you can, most places you can't ever do this. Most towns, the town is gonna completely outshine your Triumph at nighttime. This actually had clouds also, but I kind of like the way it came out. And once again, that's from some of those same spots up there on Big Hill. So if you're in the nighttime photography, the visitors would probably enjoy doing some nighttime shooting out here. Music, and in this case, permanent audience. It's at the visitor center, of course, so I wanted to line it up. That's why you didn't make this picture, because I had to line it up a different way. But Chris is playing. And these jams, if you haven't been to one of these music jams, I mean, I can sometimes play the radio. That's the extent of my music. But these guys just amaze me, the way that they just pick up and start playing songs and tunes and jamming. You know, it's I guess I'm not musically inclined. I'm more visual, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Another one of Cutter, but this, you know, Cutter's 2.5 years old. He had never seen rains like we got this year. And so he was fascinated, crossing that little bridge, and he's watching the Alpine Creek. And He stood there for 10 minutes. He didn't want to move.
Golly.
But he didn't want to get any closer either. He is a desert dog. But yeah, he to try to get the right angle of the shot and the water just rushing down there. And we got some amazing rain. This is the year that we could, remember, a few years ago, somebody proposed, let's build some dams and we can have little lakes all along the Alpine Creek. Well, of course, they would have been great for mosquitoes, but for this year, it might have worked. Cactus ran in my backyard. This is actually, I didn't have to use a big zoom lens because right down here where it says Samsung, there's a feeder. They're fun to watch. So birders come out here just for the birding. And we get lots of birders. You know, Big Bend National Park has more bird species recorded than any other national park in the country. Events, parades. I like the 4th of July parade. It's a very colorful parade. Alpine Public Library.
That's my truck.
And your wife.
That little girl with the cutie pie. Got throwing candy. George Washington. Crossing the Delaware, I guess, for throwing candy, one of the two. Throwing candy again. That little golf cart can move too. Got her fingernails in the picture. Of course, she's one of our campus cops involved in the parade. She's great. The other day, I had to call her to come over to the museum, and she's like, "What am I doing here?" I said, well, we gotta, the alarms are going off, and so you're the one that got sent here. She goes, "I understand it. What am I supposed to do? You're the expert." I guess you're supposed to accompany me down to where the skeletons are. She goes, "Oh, let her go. She's fun." There's back in the ball field. And with this little camera, got some interesting fireworks. There's back at the photo control ceremony. I like the way the sun was lit up in the part of the memorial. There's a beautiful morning for it. So if you haven't been to one of the 9/11 memorials, they're pretty cool. There's our bagpiper again. I think the Border Patrol will probably be putting earplugs in next year. Yeah, maybe he's in training. He'll look good. Flowers out here. I like taking pictures of flowers. Hummingbird in my backyard. A rufous hummingbird. Now this, I did not get that close. That was with the zoom lens.
Wow.
The same one I used for the moonshots.
Wow.
It has a little bird setting, and it works pretty good at times. So this is a rufous hummingbird right here in my backyard in Alpine. And like I said, we do get a lot of birders out here. And flycatchers, I'm in the flycatcher. That's actually at the Alpine Cemetery. These flowers bloom in the fall on Hancock Hill. And they're called white-mouth dayflowers, not a very pretty name. Their nickname is widow's flowers. When they bloom, they only bloom for a 24-hour period. But they'll bloom for like 3 months, but each individual flower only lasts for 24 hours. And they can't support themselves, they have to grow off of something else. But they're all over Hancock Hill in the fall. I was up there a couple of weeks ago and there were thousands of them. Are
they still there?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I think think, I haven't been up since this last freeze, or that first freeze, so they might not be there anymore. But they're really cool, beautiful flowers. White mouth dayflower. Widow's. Yeah, in my yard. Yeah, he was quite curious. Young man out looking for romance. This is a Wilson's warbler that I took, this was over by the railroad tracks. On the other side of the railroad tracks, there's that water feature, the Caroline, can't remember her last name, has the little oasis type of thing, right here in town. So this was on her fence. This was actually last week. Roadrunner in a tree. To me, it was unusual to get a picture of a roadrunner from below.
Yeah.
Usually they're on the ground hauling butt, but this guy was just sitting there in my neighbor's tree, and he actually got himself an insect. It's not the highest resolution picture because, once again, took the picture of what I had. Percolexia in my backyard. They're, as you can tell, they're relatives of the cardinal. I like them even better than the cardinal because they're Solar Ross colors. This, of course, horny toads are relatively common out here, but this is the first time I ever got blood spit at me through its eye.
Wow.
And then I took a picture of it. You know, yes, they can do that, but they so rarely. I mean, you can pick them up and you can move them. I try not to harass them too much at all, but I'll take a lot of pictures of them. But this guy, he didn't want me to get close. I'm like here, and he spit that blood through his eye. But then he didn't have any left, so too late. You got a picture. Yeah, got photographed. That might be a she looking at. Oh, people taking pictures. So you see a lot of photographers that come out here, and you never know what they're going to photograph. This is just walking around the street, and one of the art galleries. I like the way that one came out. Very colorful. Sometimes you'll wonder if what you see is actually art. Or is it supposed to be there? I don't know. Photographed it, but I don't know. I don't think this is really art. I don't know, but it's there. It's right by the gallery.
Yeah.
It is the piece of
There.
That's cool.
That train is actually leaving Alpine, heading. And so I'm over towards the Sunny Glen curve in the road. I like the colors, the way that came out. And of course, you can look back and see Alpine and the bar, SR bar, and everything on the hill. And the train is why Alpine's here. You know, we're a city that was founded by that because of the railroad. And I'll end with back up on Hancock Hill. Another view of Alpine. You can actually, of course, see the antenna. That's about as high as you can get on Hancock Hill. And the rainbow. So these are just some of the photographs. I think that's it, yeah. That I took just to kind of showcase Alpine. We live in a beautiful town, and we never run out of subjects to photograph here. That was the whole point. So, and I'll show you one more. Yeah, this little camera is a little Olympus TG6 Tough. It's waterproof, shockproof. I take it to England with me when I go photograph, Cliffs of Moher in the rain. I don't mind this thing getting wet. It does great macro. It actually will photograph underwater. It has underwater cameras. You don't change the lens. This is the whole thing. So it has served me well. I've actually started out with a TG2, and then I went 3, and then 4. Those have long since been retired. And I have a 5 on my shelf, but I use my 6. So.
TG6 what?
Olympus TG6.
Oh, okay, I thought you said something after 6.
No, I've had previous versions of it, but they keep improving it a little bit. Now Olympus no longer exists as a camera company. Olympus has been sold and now they're called OM Systems as of this year, as of about a month ago. But they're still making this camera, and it still says Olympus on it. And so the new ones will probably say OM Systems by next year. And maybe, rumors are they're coming out with a TG7. And this has a built-in 4X lens. The new one might have a 6.
So you're gonna sell your old one to somebody who might want it?
I might.
It's really not much bigger than a cell phone.
No, it's not, and it takes a whole lot better pictures than a cell phone. That's why I'm always wandering around with it. And I like the fact that I can put it in my pocket also. When I was over in England, I went this last trip. I have a sister that lives in England, and I went with another sister that lives in Houston. And she took her nice, pretty fancy, interchangeable lens camera. It's somewhere on a train in England. It was interesting, because I got there, and of course, after coming back from Cornwall, I'll do a talk on that someday, but went to Cornwall for a few days, fantastic, come back into London during the heat wave, when it hit 103 in London last July, and they don't have air conditioning. And when they put their railroad tracks in 100 years ago, they didn't put spaces between the tracks. They didn't need it, never got hot enough. But now it gets hot enough where the tracks are expanding to the point where they begin buckling. So they had to change our train. I actually made 3 last trains that day with my sister and I, going from Cornwall back into London. And that 3rd train, they stopped us in the middle of nowhere and they said, okay, everybody get off now, grab your stuff, you're going to another train. So we grabbed our stuff, except for my sister's camera, and ran to the other train, and then she realized she didn't have her camera, because you have to take all your luggage and everything with you too. So she put in a lost and found, and still lost. So probably never get that back. But fortunately, she had backup photos on her cell phone. I keep trying to remember to do backup photos on my cell phone. I always forget, but I've always got this camera.